With us here today are the two leading companies that are working on this really cool intersection of both technologies. Please welcome Janet Adams, COO of SingularityNET, and Humayun Sheihk, CEO of FetchAI. Welcome. Very warm welcome to the Netherlands, to the Dutch Blockchain Days. Please have a seat over here.
Thank you very much.
Everything prepared.
Thank you.
Goedemiddag, Amsterdam. Thanks.
Nice try. Nice try.
Thanks. And dankjewel for having us.
Bedankt.
Pleasure having you guys here. Yeah, I'm really thankful that you both can make it here. I think it will be a very interesting conversation.
I'm sure.
With the rapid rise of AI and, of course, yeah, as mentioned, the convergence with the technology that we're mainly focused on today as well. Maybe you can shortly introduce yourself first and tell us what your organization is about. Janet, may I start with you?
Thank you. And I'd just like to make one slight adjustment to your introduction when you said we are two companies leading thought leaders at the front of the convergence of AI and blockchain. I'd go one step further and say we are the two leading companies at the convergence of AI and blockchain globally. It's a great, great honor to share a stage with
Absolutely.
my fellow practitioner from FetchAI, which is such an incredible inspiration to us. I'm from SingularityNET. SingularityNET is the world's leading two-sided AI marketplace, founded by our visionary technology leader, Dr. Ben Goertzel. Who here knows Ben?
See a few hands.
2, 3.
He's wearing the hat as well.
Yeah.
4, someone's wearing the hat. Well, by the end of today, I really recommend you go have a look at, maybe watch his Lex Friedman video. He's an extraordinary visionary leader, and I've had 25 years in mostly banking, risk and technology, large-scale global technology rollouts, and now it's my great, great honor and privilege to be of service to Dr. Goertzel in bringing his vision for a beneficial, benevolent singularity to benefit all of humanity in this coming AI revolution. And I'll explain. Who knows what the singularity is? 1, 2, 3.
See a few hands. Maybe you can shortly explain.
4. The technological singularity is that moment in time when computers are smarter than humans. And as this beautiful art video that you've just showed talked us through, it's the time where humanity will have the opportunity to, like phoenix from the flames, to arise from the drudgery of everyday common issues like famine and hunger and suffering and disease, because we'll have technologies which are able to fix all of this for us. So that's the singularity. It was coined by Ray Kurzweil. He predicted it would be in 2029. I'd love to know what you guys both think. We are shooting for 3 to 7 years timeline for human-level artificial intelligence.
3 to 7 years.
3 to 7, but it could be earlier. We've built the technology stack. Now it's just about the experimentation, the R&D, and waiting for driving towards those major breakthroughs that will take us from the era of narrow AI to the era of general AI. And that is, we're all extraordinarily lucky to be here in technology at this time, because it is the most exciting time to be alive. Who's excited? Woo! Thanks.
Oh, I really love your energy. Humayun, well.
I'm not going to do justice too much here. I think I'll give a shorter introduction. So on one side you have Ben. The other side, although he coined the term AGI with Shane Legg, who then went to form a company called DeepMind. I'm sure some of you might know DeepMind. DeepMind was a company which was sold to Google, so I was one of the founding members, founding investor in DeepMind. And once we exited DeepMind with a sale to Google, I came out and started FetchAI. That was now 5 years ago. And the premise, slightly different, but in the same area, so it's very complementary. What is more important for FetchAI and for myself is that we bring all the components which we are developing together, and the ability to execute on those components in a way that benefits the humanity. It actually takes all the stakeholders in its right context and distributes the economic value in a more neutral way rather than just these big corporations taking all of it. And technology is definitely here, and it's coming more and more into daily life to actually make that happen. And our objective is really to decentralize this, whole AI space. And that's, that's a little bit shorter and less enthusiastic introduction.
But still
to Fetch.
very interesting introduction. Thank you so much for that. Now, we're today gathered at a DutchBlockchainDays event, so really focused on everything happening in the exciting blockchain space. If you're looking to this convergence with AI, why do you think that blockchain needs AI? Let me start with that.
Well, I'd like to start by saying I was very inspired by your short talk that you did last night at the speakers event.
Thanks.
Where you said right here, right now is the moment where technology has given us the ability to reduce inequalities, to eradicate monopoly and oligopoly, and bring a fairer, more equitable distribution of wealth and resources to humanity. I'm slightly paraphrasing, but that was the essence of what you said.
Yeah.
And so everything needs AI right now. This is the AI revolution. It's the Jeff Bezos has called it bigger than the mobile and the internet revolution put together, technology, industrial revolutions. Jensen Huang has said that within a decade we're going to see 1 million times greater processing power in our processors. And what this means is we're on the brink, we're in the foothills of the biggest and the fastest industrial revolution ever in the history of humanity. And that industrial revolution is going to bring unprecedented levels of technology-generated wealth. So every technology, every industry needs AI now because it's coming in to support every person and every SME and every company to expand their productivity, to grow their impact, to massively transform business models and reinvent what it means to be humanity. So that's why blockchain needs AI. I'm sure you're going to ask the converse, but I'll wait. I'll see what...
But I will go the other way, which is why, what can blockchain do for AI? And it's a mechanism of record keeping. At the moment, everything is a black box in AI. And if you look at how blockchain can change that, it can bring transparency to how we train these models, who trains these models, inclusion, in terms of actually removing biases because it's auditable, it's open, it's to the world. And so AI can really use blockchain for that purpose. Rather than saying, the converse is also true because if you look at transactions on blockchain, fraud protection, that sits in centralized organizations. But what you can do with this kind of more decentralized, more granular, more intelligent AI techniques is that you can actually bring the same quality of technological advancement into blockchain. So AI doesn't have to sit on the edges and be controlled by big central entities. You can bring it in. You can actually create services for the blockchain industry. So it's both ways. And I think there is initially what Fetch is trying to do is actually saying we're going to train these models. We're going to make these executions based on these machine learning and AI models. Where do we keep the record? And it shouldn't be in a centralized way. It should be auditable. It should be obvious to people. So the black box is no more a black box. So that's how we feel blockchain can really help.
Now, these are great ideas, but do you already see like real use cases of both the technologies combining or complementing each other, like really putting these ideas into practice?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you look at, again, the whole point we started from, distribution of wealth. What is blockchain for? What is decentralization for? Is to get rid of the middleman. Is to get rid of the aggregators. So if you now start talking about all the big tech companies at the moment in this last 2 decades, most of them are organization of information, data, and they're aggregators. They sit in the middle. they connect two markets together, and they take a cut on that. Now, they had their time because that was needed. You have millions of websites. Somebody is going to organize it. Hence, Yahoo and Google were born. You have millions of hotel rooms. How do you find one? Because it's a nightmare. You have Booking.com and Expedia. You have this ability to efficiently order a taxi. You found Uber. So ultimately, those technologies were centralized because there was a need for it to be centralized. That is now changing. So you can actually have granular AI connected using blockchain. And it could be not necessarily just blockchain, but I think blockchain is a very efficient, financially efficient way of doing it. If you connect all these components together, you don't need that aggregator in the middle. So the economic value gets distributed to the right stakeholders.
Now, there's an interesting question coming in from the audience. And it mentions that, like you say, that we need blockchain to make AI more transparent. Would it not be more sufficient to make AI models open source? And what does blockchain add to that?
So we are already seeing that trend. If you look at Hugging Face, they have open source models. Excuse me.
Bless you.
The open source bit is there. But how do you take that next step? So let's say all these people in this room want to train a model. It doesn't mean it's an open source model, because although it's an open source model, everybody can train it. But how do you bring it together? How do you prove what you have trained? How do you evidence it? And that's how you kind of bring blockchain into it and say, 10 people are going to get into a group and going to train the model. And then we're going to take the financial dispensation out of that using how much we trained it. So there are two different components. One is the distribution of economic value, and the second is generation of economic value, because the model in itself is of no use unless you can provide an inference from that model to an ecosystem. So before we start talking about, kind of decentralizing these models, we also have to think about how the economic value is generated. The models provide inference or some kind of ability to make a decision. So if you don't have that ecosystem available, these models can't be decentralized because they will always be used for centralized entities. So by creating this infrastructure, which is we call that the execution layer, what you're doing is you're taking machine learning models, you're open sourcing them, you decentralize them, but you then also generate a method of monetizing. So 10 data scientists can train a model, but they don't have to sell it to a bigger entity. They can actually monetize it themselves. So sorry, it's a long answer, but hopefully that kind of answers your question.
No, for sure.
And if I may comment and build on what Humayun has said, from a algorithmic perspective, some algorithm types, such as deep neural networks, are intrinsically black box models. No matter what we wrap around them, we can only ever put another model on top to try to give us an estimation of why they're making their decisions. And so there's also, in addition to what Humayun has just said about the blockchain and mutable record helping us with interpretability, explainability, and opening up AI and what it's doing, there are also algorithmic approaches. And at SingularityNET, we are pioneers of a form of AI which is called neural symbolic AI. And we're currently working to bring our neural symbolic AI techniques to large-scale applications of AI, such as ChatGPT, which is, of course, the word on everybody's lips in AI this year, or to Hugging Face models, or stable diffusion, large image models. By infusing these models with more advanced, more mathematical, more difficult scientific methods, such as neural symbolic techniques, we can achieve both greater, better transparency, we can achieve the data privacy aspects, we can achieve ethics and regulatory rules into these black box models. And then we do make all of our models open source. Thanks to whoever asked that question. Here at SingularityNET, we are utterly committed to the open source revolution for this AI revolution. We're committed to democratization of access to wealth and to open source transparent use of artificial intelligence, so that when we come into this giant major revolution that's happening all around us, that it is manageable, that it's controllable, that it can be ethically guided to make the right decisions and to serve the greatest number of people on the planet.
Whew, very long, extensive answers, but it's interesting to hear from your side. But he also mentioned, both of you already, like the black box, right? There are so many things that are unclear, unknown, and I think in my perspective it is also fueling the unrest about the rapid rise of AI. There has been a lot of conversations about AI governance, of course, right? I mean, there was even a call to halt when it comes to the developments with AI. What is your opinion about this?
Well, I think it's just totally ludicrous as a suggestion. We need artificial general intelligence. We need the best technologies in the world to address the issues that humanity is currently facing, and one which I feel personally, as a woman, as a mother, bringing my own nurturing, loving, compassionate side to artificial intelligence, not just my 3 science degrees. I feel very passionately about the fact that there's something really, really broken, that 25,000 people a day are dying of hunger on our planet, while so many of us privileged people can order Wagyu beef or black cod to be delivered to our house within 30 minutes. And that SDG, it's going the wrong way. We're going backwards on delivery of ending world hunger, on ending poverty. Inequality is growing, and I don't see any other really viable hope for massively transforming this inequality in my lifetime. I'm not that bothered what happens after I'm dead, but while I'm here, I'm committed to making sure that everything I do is driven towards the best transformative impact that we as an industry can have. And that's why decentralized AI and working with brilliant practitioners like Humayun and thought leaders and shapers like yourself, Jan. That's why we all have to get together and drive this technology progress forwards. And it seems to me that the people who signed that letter, if I were to give the option to any of the mothers of the children dying of hunger today, and I was going to say, right, here's a technology that might be able to come in and fix everything, do you think we should stop working on it for a while? I'm pretty sure they'd all vote for, help us. You know, these technologies, the potential upside of artificial general intelligence is huge. So for me to pause, when there's so much suffering on the planet today, to pause developing the one technology that can possibly fix all this is anathema to me. That's my perspective.
And of course, I mean, there's a lot of upsides, there's a lot of downsides, of course, as well, that we might discuss a little later. But coming first, let's stay positive when it comes to the upsides, right? You mentioned like the people dying of hunger, like the 20,000 people dying of hunger every day. Well, you signed some partnerships with companies like Domino's Pizza. Do you have like really cool cases, that Singularity University is already being used for implemented that is actually working on the SDGs and actually preventing hunger, people dying from hunger?
Well, our core mission is development of beneficial artificial general intelligence. And we're talking human level intelligence, and we're talking intelligence that's greater, that's smarter than human, super intelligence. And every single algorithm we develop and every single project we do has at its core benefit to humanity. We also work really hard to bring loving kindness and compassion into our model, so that when this AGI comes, it's going to be born loving, kind, and compassionate, and it's going to work on our behalf. But we have a bunch of actual algorithms in implementation. We have Singularity DAO, which is our algorithmic trading platform. As Humayun has explained, bringing advanced AI tools and bringing wealth management to the everyday person. We have a Rejuve biotech project which aims to, which is launched, has its own token, and which is there to bring the wealth of data contribution to every single individual to drive longevity. And one of the projects which is not yet implemented, but which Ben and I are working on with a number of different parties, is speech-to-speech machine translation for low-resource languages to enable children and adults who live in communities where there isn't sufficient translation resource available for books, for education, for being able to bring their greatest impact to the world and being able to be treated fairly on a world stage. So speech-to-speech machine translation, particularly for Africa, but for all low-resource languages, is, we think, a brilliant invention. And anyone here, thank you. Anyone here who'd like to work with us on any of these projects, I'm Janet at SingularityNET.io. Please come and find me.
Well, we're not done with the conversation yet. And you're also here with the networking drinks. Humayun, let's continue with. When I looked at Fetch, we pre-discussed this. He also worked on autonomous economic agents. How do these agents function? I mean, what is their role they play in creating a decentralized and autonomous ecosystem?
Yeah, so thinking about those algorithms, thinking about this one general intelligence, we take a slightly different approach. We feel, again, looking at those locations where people don't have these resources to run these complex big models. It's thinking of swarm intelligence effectively. Rather than creating this one big intelligence, we're proponents of this small intelligences spread around. And we believe in collective learning, collective intelligence. Because if you look at, low resource countries, and even if you look at, first world countries, it's quite interesting to see that there is a drive to go away from connecting to these one big corporations. And it's more, my data is mine, my preferences are mine, although the commerciality of the whole thing comes in play as soon as you can't find a service. You can only get it for free when you submit your data. Everybody goes for that. So we're trying to be realistic here a little bit on that front. We don't feel people are just going to say, oh, we're not going to use Facebook and Google or Twitter or any of that because we wouldn't want them to have the data. So we feel if you want to participate in that economy, you need to create value within your data, and we wrap this up in an autonomous economic agent which belongs to you and has your preferences, it has your context, and it holds it, doesn't give it to anybody. It executes on your behalf. And actually, you can even train it, and then if you decide to share that data with somebody, either for economic value or for a better service, you can. So that's our kind of the outward-looking interaction point.
Now, closing down the conversation a bit, I think we should also look at the downsides, the challenges that we see ahead. What are some of the challenges and opportunities that you actually see in the adoption of the decentralized AI in the near future?
Well, the big challenge is that big tech has all the GPUs. That's the challenge.
What's a GPU?
GPU is a graphic processor unit. It's a powerful computer chip for processing things like large models. So it takes maybe 5,000 GPUs, which costs $100 million, $120 million, to train a model like ChatGPT, with the size of the data that you have to scrape from the web, with the number of computations that you need to pass across it to train something like that. So the biggest challenge I see is that players like us who want to develop AI for the benefit of everybody, who want to slash the barriers to entry for technology, who want to bring that technology-generated wealth to every small business, to every country, to every person, we're up against fighting with the big tech for resources, for processing power. Now, luckily, we have a plan. We have Zarka at SingularityNET, and we have a plan to beat that. So that's the challenge. The challenge is, as Humayun has alluded to, the challenge is that they can just scrape all our data, they can put it behind a paywall, they can develop the biggest technologies, the most powerful technologies, and then they can use it for their own benefit instead of, that's just wrong, right? Technology as an asset, it belongs to everybody. But if I come back to the dystopic downsides of a future singularity and a future evolution, obviously there are all the potential downsides if these technologies are in the hands of people who either care about war, who care about power, or who care about profit first. And if you put more power and profit in front of a technology that belongs to everybody and collate it and own it by a small number of people, then you know, what is that technology going to do when it becomes even more advanced? We don't know. But that's why the hope comes from people like you and from people like you and from amazing technologists like Humayun here with me. We have got to beat this, right? This is a race. It's a war. It's a war for freedom of humanity to own our own data, to own our own technologies, and for everybody to have food and education.
Now,
right.
I asked the question also this morning to another power woman in Web3. What about diversity and inclusion?
Well, that's a beautiful question. Thank you so much. So this is another point that's really, really important to me, and Humayun, I'm going to be brief because I've talked a lot. In order for these most powerful technologies ever invented, and these, right, think about it, these will probably be the last technologies human will ever invent, because they're going to be smarter than us and they're going to invent all the new technologies faster than us. So for the last technology we ever invent, it's so important that it's not invented by one small sector of the population, that the invention, that the use cases, that the product design comes from people from all races, people of all ages, people of all genders, people of all sexual orientations, people of all levels of ability, people of all levels of education. And so this is where blockchain and decentralization is so powerful. It is the mechanism of democratization where everyone can come and get involved. And ChatGPT has shown us that you don't have to have a degree in computer science to be able to use AI. Anyone can use AI. It's being wrapped up really nicely now for us. So
finally found a killer app.
That's been a watershed moment for humanity where we can see now we can actually use this technology. But it's really, really important that the greatest, the beauty of humanity, the full beauty of humanity is trained and programmed into these tools so that when they grow to be our next evolution, that they reflect that beauty of humanity and serve that beauty of humanity.
I think I can listen for hours to you guys. You're like beautifully mentioning, but
we can
have
probably
to
talk for hours.
Sorry, because of the time we're.
Just can I just ask?
You've covered most of it, so
I
I don't think I can do a better job than that. So yeah.
So to close down the panel, can I, Humayun, from your side, do you have like one really exciting prediction about the convergence of AI and blockchain in the upcoming, let's say, months or upcoming year that you'd like to share?
As I said before, that all the use cases that are centralized at the moment, which involve aggregators, are going to be changed. And that will be the beginning of this whole democratization phase. As I say, we want to bring this technology to everybody, but at this point in time, because of the fact that most of the money is going into centralized entities, I mean, just as the sake of saying it, OpenAI is not open, tells you something, right? Yeah. So unless we create these models which actually work in a open manner and a decentralized manner, this change will not happen. So the true objective we have in Fetch at the moment is perhaps not as grand as creating the AGI itself, but it is to have a platform, a network where the AGI can actually be applied to, And economic value creation is, happening on that network. Till that point, we will not go from where we are today of centralization to actually true decentralization. So that we are releasing in the next 6 months. We'll be releasing a platform where you would be building these applications using not ChatGPT perhaps, but a different type of an LLM, and perhaps with Singularity's LLM, which is a lot more intelligent, and actually deploying use cases which kind of disrupt the market and go for this next paradigm shift.
Yeah, looking forward to today. I'm really keeping a close eye on both your organizations because I think you're doing incredible work, launching incredible products.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for this conversation and wishing you good luck with both of your organizations. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well.
Cheers.
Thank you well.
And of course your enthusiasm. Really appreciate it.
Well, and yours.
Yeah.
Beautiful, and this beautiful audience
Thank
here
you.
today.
For sure.
Thank you.
Thank
all.
you so much.
Thank
Cheers.
you well.